about it. But anything you guys want to add?
I did have a question. So like a
Hmm.
while ago I saw that like the future for Rudy, like, and how they're saying that eventually they're gonna do a sequel to Mushoku Tensei and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh but I also heard that there's some very problematic characters that end up being like with terms of like some of his siblings and some of his future offspring. Do you feel like how do you feel that's gonna like compare to Mushoku Tensei? Do you think it's gonna have run into some of the same problems because of how the author is, or do you think
So
it's gonna be more acceptable?
it's really not. So the one thing that the author always tries to do is to kind of like he tries to keep it as real as possible when it comes to Rudy. Like you see how sometimes like his growth is never immediate, right? It takes time, right? And this I know the part you're talking about, and I want to spoil it, but I can't. But Santo, if you ever get a chance, go read the redundancy chapters after the story's finished, because that's just a continuation, right? But um no, it's not, and Lonnie to tell you why it's not. Fans rebelled when that part you're talking about came up. Like when I tell you fans, I rebelled, Japanese fan
Which part?
rebelled. The the part with the problematic characters.
Oh,
So
okay.
fans rebelled. So like I told you when I was reading it when it came out, because they're gonna turn that whole problematic part into its own light novel series, like a spinoff, right?
Yeah.
And it was the fans rebelled so much that the author's like, I gotta rewrite it.
One thing is, what's wrong with this author where like he just makes that stuff? Because like
That's why I
you
mentioned
can
it.
do sequels, you can like make these characters and like not put these horrible at like there can be wrong things in a character and the character still be really good. Like for instance, like Sasuke or Aaron, or like you can like have them do like these horrible things or view things in like very dark ways. But then like not every taboo thing has aspects to be acceptable in regular society. Like not everything can just be absolved with reasoning and stuff like that. Like some things are just objectively wrong to human society.
And
Like when it
that's
comes
why
to things
go,
like family relations, younger people, stuff like that. Like those things you can never just excuse or right away and it just be accepted as enjoyable entertainment media without villainizing it in some way. But like the other way, like promoting it kind of hurts your product, especially when you have so many other great things about your product, like the world building that we were explaining, like the other characters and stuff like that. That just like taints your product and taints the story.
and
I think
So,
that's why
I
the
think
fans rebelled the way they did. That's why we
I
were all mad and
but
he
that,
had
at
to
the same
rewrite
time,
the
that's his
story.
vision. So, what does that say about him? If that's his vision, if that's what he's passionate about writing about,
I
Well,
think
he
the situation is that they view everything on the same level. Like for us, like maybe those at least for our culture, we might see things like one's worse than the other. I
Mhm.
think I think from what we've seen in different, not just this anime, but also in different animes as well, everything is kind of the same. Like you'd have someone kill 100 people, and you have someone do, you know, immoral things with
right?
a younger person, and they would view it the same. That's not for us in our culture. One's worse than the other. I think that's where the disconnect is.
That's part of it, but at the same time, it's not how you is because it is how you do it. It is like the act, but it's also how you're portraying it. If you're
Mhm.
portraying it as a right thing to do in all aspects, when even the society that you live in, it's deemed wrong. For instance, it's and sometimes it's viewed even worse. Like look at the One Piece voice actor for Sabo,
Mhm.
how they're saying like, oh, he dealt with like a younger fan who was I think like 18 or like of legal age, but they viewed it like, oh, he was taking advantage of this person. That's a crime. That's a crime in Japan to them. Like even though
Mhm.
she was as of age, you were like of such a higher age in the way that you manipulated this person is a criminal act to them. So you making a story where some of it is even worse because it's like family on family, and then also same circumstances. Is that what you're into is like that. Like what does that say about the author themselves? That's what I'm saying. So it's like art is art, and like there's different ways to interpret it. But it's like with this author, he does a lot of things beautifully. He does a lot of things really well. But at the same time, I feel like some of his, I don't want to like assume things about him or her. I don't know their gender. Some of the other things that he brings into the story that aren't necessarily needed for character development or character depth ruin the overall product. Like Rudius, he can be a pervert and the story be completely fine. But if he doesn't do some of the things that he does to the degree that he does it and how much they emphasize it and go into detail, Jobless Reincarnation to the mass media is viewed completely differently. So sometimes I feel like the author gets in his own way for a lot of the wrong reasons.
I will say this. The person who wrote the story, his name is Ryofujin Namaganote. He's a dude, but he never shows his face, so nobody knows what he actually looks like. Right? He always wears like this comically bad Party City like night mask in front of his face when he does interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't like he's only ever he started his career like in the 90s, so you could kind of say when his first project really hit in 1995, so he was in that edgy part of 90s media, so maybe he just carried that apart. And obviously with Mushoku Tensei hitting, that's his biggest work, but he's even working on another one, which is like, the manga that is basically like a girl gets captured by orcs, and there's a lot of intimations to what I don't need to say. You guys are smart. You guys know what I'm talking about. And it's like, I understand that this is who you are, but you also have to understand if you want the biggest thing that's stopping Mushoku Tensei from ever being held as in high in regard as Overlord or the time of Reincarnation Slime, even though I do my best to put it up there because I legitimately believe it belongs up there. Santo, you think so too, as one of the best isekais out there. Is just the fact of how bad you started off your protagonist and these little anime bullshit things you keep doing. Like when I tell you that one chapter that we will talk about offline, it was so bad. We understand. Like the Shogun Tensei fans understand the point of that story. But it was so bad that even though we understood it completely, we're not going to rock with this. I can't walk up to you and Riddell and J-Rob and Santo and recommend you that story. I just can't. And to the best of my ability, I just can't.
The way I view it is like this. So say like he was like a music artist, like he made great music. Think of it like R. Kelly. Like R. Kelly objectively made great music before we found out everything that he did. But then, and so we appreciate all that music. But then in like, say, some of his hit songs, he like had like a line or two where he talked about the stuff that he's now arrested and in jail for. That the rest of the story is great. The rest of the song is great. But those two bars or that verse kind of puts that song in a lesser tier because you tainted it. So that's what he's doing to Jobless Reincarnation. So it's like, without the other stuff, the story is great. The story is amazing. The world building is amazing. But then you put this other stuff in there that's not necessary for the great story, or that could be to a lesser degree to make it more acceptable. And it would be in completely different conversations. It would be Jobless Reincarnation in terms of like the art, some of the side characters, the depths that they go, some of the things that they cover in terms of trauma and how they go into that. Family trauma, bullying, like so I can go on like the different aspects. The way that they humanize characters is very different and unique. The way that they portray villains and the way that they portray different world aspects and different ideologies, very unique. But then you add in the unmentionables, and then it's just like now it can't be in certain conversations.
It's a damn shame.
So
it's a damn shame. Now there's a lot of like with any series, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like people always show like any Mushoku Tensei hate or anything. They'll show the passage in a light novel where Rudy plans to groom Sylphie, except it never fucking happens. Like he never does it. Blah blah blah. But they will show that and see, and I'm like use your.
But at the same time, the author set himself up for that because why is that?
And I was just about to say, but at the same time, the fact that you dedicated you dedicated pages to this, or even a section of this that somebody can easily find. And I got to sit there and explain that. And it's like one of those things like, if Mushoku Tensei was mid, I wouldn't care this much. I really wouldn't. But it's great. It's legitimately great. And it's a shame that at this point I gave up fighting those fights. And like, because you're going to believe what you want. And don't treat Mushoku Tensei like it's the first edgy story you've ever seen, because it's not. There are worse ones. Do I really need to talk about Redo of a Healer? Because that's worse. That's absolutely worse. And there's a reason why people just didn't fuck with it when it came out. But it's just like, I'm tired. And I got now, because of what Lani's seen, I got to talk to him about it for maybe like 10, 15 minutes about it after the damn recording. So I make sure you get all the context of why those
I get that,
happen.
but like the author, like I get the author, because you can consider it bad, like because he has great writing, but also this counts as bad writing. Because why do you have so many different instances where your fans or other people have to like explain and defend, and because of not just like story reasons, because of ethic reasons, because of moral reasons, like. Random has a moral, like, because when some of these things happen and someone confronts Random about it, he has a moral obligation to defend it so he doesn't look a certain type of way. Yeah. That's bad. That's bad writing. That's objectively bad writing. I like, it's so frustrating because like someone that's also trying to eventually like have my own novel and stuff like that, to see like so many great things, and then it's just like I might read something else in it and I'm just like, oh, this is great, this is great. This is like, why is this even in there? Like, oh, this like turns me away from the story. Like, how many people has he actually turned away because of this? If you took out all the unmentionables out of Jobless Reincarnation,
top 5 isekai all time,
Riddell would be glazing it the same way he glazes Attack on Titan.
I would say not even top 5 isekai. It would be arguably top 10 manga if you took up all the way unmentionables. But because of the unmentionables, because of the things that do damage the story, objectively can't make some lists. It can't because of, and that's what's sad. That's what's sad.
I said it when we did the 3 things we love and 3 things we hate. Starting Rudius from that, like, you could do Rudius's backstory works completely. A guy who was bullied so much he stays inside, and what's the way you make and you learn about his struggles, even trying to do anything. The fact that even his brother gave up on him, the fact that he was so afraid to leave the house, he missed his parents' funeral.
And that's heavy and that's relatable. And that's that connects with people.
Relatable. And then what kills that entire backstory is when you see his siblings walk into his room and the guy turns the corner and you see exactly what he's doing. You didn't need that. What if his brother got mad because that's all, the only thing he does is just play video games?
Honestly, if they came back and he was just playing video games or he was just watching a DVD or whatever, it would have the message would have gone across just the same. If he got kicked out, it would have still been understandable. It would still hit the same. So it's like, you making him do that there's no reason for that to happen. Like, you can honestly write everything important about Rudius without all that stuff in it, and it'd be great writing. And so every interaction, every struggle he goes with, you can write that all in without all that perv bullshit. You can. So the fact that it's in there, it hurts it. It honestly hurts it.
Santo,
I know I completely agree that it's really unnecessary. I don't know if it's a thing that we're just like trying to push, like we're just trying to push the envelope. Like it's okay if we mention
pushing
it.
The envelope is like
no. What I'm saying is that I don't like what I said earlier. I don't know if they just think that because it's anime, it's on the same level as, you know, somebody slapping a female character or someone stabbing someone. Like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I just really think that these authors think that it's on the same level. And it's really not. I don't. It's not on a moral level. It's not.
The energy that the author writes it in is even like with other, because there are other edgy stories and other stuff like that. But it's like also like the energy and the intent behind it. Like, some of the intent behind some of the stuff that he writes is different than some of the other edgy stories in there, because sometimes their edgy stuff has like a purpose. Some of the edgy stuff in Jobless Reincarnation, there's no need for it. And that's what makes it different. That's why I judge it differently than some other edgy stories. Redo of a Healer, you can see that on unmentionable sites. You can watch that on there. Jobless Reincarnation, that's not what it's meant for.
It shows
those are two different audiences that they're trying to reach.
It shows you how great the highs of Mushoku Tensei's writer can be, that all of us are still willing to watch the show despite its proclivities or its bad parts. But for instance, this is one thing that really pisses me off about the story. Rudius's shrine to Roxy. Why the fuck does he have her panties? Could that just be like a hat or a jacket or whatever? Or a doll, but it just has to be her fucking panties. I can never defend that when Riddell asks me a question. I can never defend that. Never. And that's why I sit there and I'm waiting for maybe Ty, somebody who's smarter, and you too, Lani, because you're both writing. You guys understand this better than I do. Maybe you guys could explain it better. Because even Ty, when the one time he had to stand up, was like, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Even Ty had to do that one time, and he's only watched 8 fucking episodes of the damn show. And I'm like, I can't. As a Mushoku Tensei fan, I'm exhausted because I have to watch guys who are propping up Sword Art Online and say that's better, when the only thing Sword Art Online is just more popular because it came out earlier. There's a reason why of the 4 or even the starting 5 of Isekai, Sword Art Online's at the bottom of that list. Konosuba is just a parody, and it's better. Slime, better. Overlord, better. And the guy can't even finish Overlord because he's just so exhausted from writing it. But he's just going toward the end of the story slowly but surely. And Mushoku Tensei, it's not even a question. But these are just things that I think every Mushoku Tensei fan, whether or not you like the edgy stuff or not, it's just things you just get tired of. Like, I don't want to keep explaining this.
The truth about writing and truth about art in general is that when you're making stuff like this, when you're making art, your form of art, it comes from a part of you. It always does. Like writing a story, like it's impossible to just completely remove some of your ideologies, some of your thoughts, or some, because like you're making it from your own mind and from your own talents. So these unnecessary things have to objectively suggest that these are things that the author thinks about. These are the things that brings joy or some type of relief or some type of urge for the author himself. Like when you sing something, when a writer sings, when an artist sings something or they paint something, they're expressing something. So when you're unnecessarily expressing some of these things that aren't needed in the story, what does that suggest? That's something that's on your mind. And like when you see fan service that's not needed, what does that suggest? Even if it's not in the manga, what does that suggest? The animators got bored, they got a little horny, so they made some fan service. That's like, so when he makes these things and he writes these things that are unnecessary, Santo, would you want to leave your kids with this author for more than 5 minutes?
No.
If at all? No. Why? Because of the stuff that it comes from his mind. And that's a big problem. Because if I'm reading your art, but I also can't like you as a person, that's an issue. That's an issue.
It's a damn shame. And that's that explanation right there is why I just stopped defending it. You either watch it and you see it for yourself or you don't. And they're just parts that I'll just never be able to defend or anything like that. But hopefully with his rewrite of the spin-off that he has to rewrite, hopefully he does it right and does, because we'll rebel again. I was talking to people from fucking Japan that were so mad on the subreddit about that. Even though we like I said, we all understand, but we're like, bro, you can't trot this out there. Okay, there's a reason why when Darth Vader killed the younglings, they didn't fucking show us. They didn't show us him cutting them kids up to death. Because you could just tell us, or you can what's the word, Santo? You can kind of
imply,
allude to it,
It alludes to
without
it. But
fucking
at the same time,
showing it
that's
to
like
us.
that was important to Star Wars story. So if this some of the stuff that you guys were rebelling against, and after we are off screen, you can go into more detail to me and Santo about it. Is that big important to the story? Could have been done differently.
It could have been done differently, but it still showcases a part of Rudius's character that he's still fixing. But I'm like, you could have done that better than what you came out with. It's not even like where like Aaron with the rumbling where you get it, right? What was Aaron wrong? Yeah, but that's how he reached the rumbling decision makes sense, right? But when you
My wish for you, random, like I pray this never happens. I hope this mangaka doesn't get into the same situation that the Veroni Kenshin author got into, because Veroni Kenshin
I'd
was one of
fucking
my
cry. I'd
yeah
fucking cry
Veroni
because I
Kenshin was one
can't.
of my gateways into the anime manga world. Like the first mangas I legit like Dragon Ball Z was like I always had like a few volumes, but I was never really into like the anime world. Then I saw Naruto for the first time. I saw the first episode. That was my gateway. Then when I got to manga, the first mangas my mom let me buy was Rurouni Kenshin and Naruto. And so I went years without knowing all the things that the author Rurouni Kenshin did. But then when that happened, that's like, oh, I can't defend this guy. I can't. There's no reason to. There's no want to defend this guy.
I'd fucking cry. I wouldn't be able to read the stories anymore.
But the main difference is that the mangaka, he did what he did, but he never put it in his story. So if that were to happen to the author Jobless Reincarnation, if he got raided and they found some stuff, it's finished. They might not even if it happened tomorrow, Jobless Reincarnation might not go past the season. And that's the fear, because we all know, based off what he's done, the likeliness of that stuff being there is more likely than not. And that's what's horrible.
Look, obviously the web novel is absolutely fun crazy, but that it is for most of them. Like, y'all don't ever want to read the Overlord web novel. Don't ever do that to yourself, right? And he got an editor, and the editor did a lot of cleaning up, but even the things that he cleaned up, you're still like, damn. So it's just the bad part of Mushoku Tensei, and it's what's always going to hold it back from being one of the best. And it's just something that I have to live. I have to live all the time with somebody saying that, oh, this new Isekai is better, when it's not. It's just not. Go ahead, Santo.
No, I was talking to my kid. She's in here.
Yeah, but it's just one of those, like, what is it, the assassin who's reborn as an aristocrat? It's not like Mushoku Tensei clears, but it just doesn't have those things. So somebody's gonna
respect that.
I'm just
story,
like, I just let it go. I just let it go. No, I do agree with you though. You talking about the old assassin who gets reincarnated with the fucking
yeah. I don't think I watched like the last 2 episodes, but it was lit.
It was good. Ironically, the guy who wrote Redo of a Healer wrote that story too. So I'm like, then why the fuck did you write? Why the fuck did you make Redo of a Healer in the first place then? If you can write this well.
I just don't. I really just don't understand. I don't understand why they feel it's okay to have it in anime. Like,
I've heard some people. I've heard some people say it's because of how conservative the culture is, that this is a way for some relief to happen. Because I'm like, even in like, that's why when I find like, even like I understand, obviously slice of life so rampant with unnecessary fan service, but when I run into those true ones that are so good, like, I know I said it, teasing Master Takagi-san, it's just a girl teasing her crush, no fan service, no nothing. It's just a great story. Kotaro Lives Alone does a really good job of that. Amazing job. No fan service, just like legitimately you're watching this kid who's had to grow up way too fast dealing with some shit no kid should ever have to do. The fact that he knew what to tell that girl in that domestic violence situation blew my fucking. I paused, I almost cried, because no kid ever should know, but he knew exactly what to do. He told her exactly what to, like, where to go, all this stuff. So I think that's just the culture. It's just a culture.
I think it is too. Like what Lani was saying. Like, yeah, they see it as a crime in real life, but it's just they don't view anime the same. Like they feel like it's fantasy, so it's almost like anything goes. And unfortunately, this is one anime that's going to suffer from it because it's so great and you can't even recommend it.
I can't.
Yeah, well,
Like
if I have kids, I'm not gonna say. Say I have a kid that wants to be an author, or like, and they're having troubles with world building. I can't recommend them Jobless Reincarnation. I wouldn't feel right. I wouldn't
Yeah.
feel right.
the fact that, let's just say if that does happen, I have to like, oh hey, random, what's your favorite story? Uh I can give you some excerpts if you want. I got to clear with your dad first. Like I have to do all that prep just before I even say that. I was like,
Yeah, that's
it's
why.
just a shame.
That's why. Unfortunately for me, I'll never officially. I can enjoy things about Jobless Reincarnation, but I'll never rank it. I'll never put in that. I'll never put in any serious conversations because I can't.
It's my
I think you can, but you'll always have that asterisk. It's like I
Yeah, I'm
said,
always
if
gonna.
it,
If I
if
do,
it, if
it's always gonna be a tax. It's
like
always
if
gonna be a tax.
it's always going to me. And like I said, I'm only viewing the anime, and I have it literally top 5 isekai all time.
My
But
my actual goal in the next few months, just so I can have like a full debate with random, is that I'm gonna eventually read the light novels of Jobless Reincarnation, so I can get a full aspect of it. Because I know I don't like having debates with people when I don't know everything that they know. I always feel like I'm at a disadvantage. I always feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. So
I think you
eventually, I
can
am gonna have. Eventually, I am gonna read all of it,
I
and
think you
then
can listen to the books. Most of the light novels have audibles now.
all right, then we'll talk later, and I'll eventually because audibles work for me because I usually listen to audibles when I'm working and stuff like that. My girl's a big book girl, so like every time she's like, "You need to read this, you need to read that." Like Fourth Wing is like the biggest fantasy thing out right now, along with A Court of Thorns and Roses. So like those are things I'm listening to, so I can like have dialogue with my girl about them.
Mhm.
But I'll listen to them, so I have full context, and then I really want to have a full deep dive conversation about.
We might, if we can obviously have it here or another point, maybe even on the BSS,
Mhm.
because I do, because I was like, especially with how many different stories that you read, Lonnie, I'd love to see you get to the end of the story and tell me exactly what you think.
Yeah.
Because
At the same time, I want you to do that with the beginning after the end, around
tell
the time I
make
start.
more, make more. You know what? I blame. Look,
I'm
I
talking about
hate
the
the
light
fact.
novels. Talk about the light novels.
Okay, but I hate the fact that I was zooming on the manhwa, and then y'all couldn't pay the goddamn artist or whatever the fuck happened, and the artist left. I don't fucking like that. We was zooming.
But no, eventually, when we're both all caught up with the stories, then we need to have a debate on which is better.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I'm gonna have an advantage because you can't tax the beginning after that. You can't
Fine.
tax it with shit.
I
So
I
it'll
think,
also be interesting, very
yeah.
open dialogue.
I think that your toughest part will probably be the main two main characters. Obviously, Rudius has the tax, but the journey he goes through, and obviously these are two different things. One of them's literally Arthur's OP as fuck. Like even in terms of the 5, except for Kirito, because he's just in a fucking video game. But when he's in a video game, he's OP as fuck. Rudius is the weakest main character out of the 5.
No, but
So
question though, what do you with what you know right now? What do you rank? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank Arthur?
he's like an 8 or he's like an 8 or 9,
All
depending
right.
on the he was 7th for me until he had that talk with his dad about him being reincarnated,
Uh huh.
and I was like, that's
Which
fucking
is one of
peak
the
right
most
there.
taboo like isekai things that you could think of. Which is like
That's fucking
I
peak.
don't think any other isekai has really done
They
that.
never touch it. They always, and if they do, they're like, oh, okay, you're like Ricard's a slime, and I get, because that revelation was big, but he just had it in a meeting with his people, and they're like, yeah, we know. I'm like, we don't care. You're cool, but that's such a huge revelation that I'm like, maybe that wouldn't have worked, that kind of talk in slime, but like Overlord, once other people find out that Ainz is a supreme being, they're gonna freak the fuck out. Wait, this dude's from another world? And the only reason the Nosric people knows because they're part of the guild. That's the only nobody else knows besides them, right?
Yeah.
So
So
I just think
Santo, so you're not out the loop. So eventually, because I do suggest you read the beginning after the end, but eventually, what we're talking about is there comes a time where he has to tell his parents, "Hey, I'm actually a reincarnation from a different world."
and his dad flips
Yeah.
the fuck
Yeah, his
out.
dad
Just
freaks the fuck out.
completely.
His mom is going through. She's like, "Wait, are you actually really my? Is that really my son?
Mhm.
Is that like think of like be like on your end of the,
Yeah.
like if you found out like your child is a reincarnation from someone on from
In the,
some 30-year-old from another planet, they're like, so she's thinking like when you were breastfeeding, you had the mind of a 30-year-old. Did you
Mhm.
like replace my son's soul and my son's mind with yours? Did you steal my son away from me? Are you actually like my child? Did you actually love us? Like all those emotions and all those questions are coming out of both of them at the same time, and they write it so beautifully.
it's so well done.
But here's my thing: you're at an 8 or 9 with him right now,
Mhm.
but you haven't even gone to see his actual pain, his actual death, his actual core wounds. The stuff that they keep on alluding to, you haven't even seen that yet.
All right, let me see it.
So I'm just saying, if you haven't been at 8, 9 without seeing his actual
I think
backstory,
he's
without his pain,
I think
just
he's well
imagine what it's
done.
gonna be like.
I would say he'd probably be even higher, but this is just something that all fucking authors do because they want to keep a villain in the story. After like the second time that fucking dude tries some shit with him, wax that guy. Wax him. Because now look what happens because he doesn't take care of that problem. He ends up getting taken away at the end of
Mhm.
the end of the first season, right? He ends up getting taken away. I'm like, I know this sounds weird. Rudius would never. He would have immediately taken care of that. He just, especially when somebody's threatening his family and things like that, he would have wiped that out.
But
And
yeah,
I'm like,
my author is more logical. He's more objective. He's like, when he went through that, he's like, it's technically not the best move logically. As much as he wanted to, because he wanted to kill him right away, but he's like, it's not the best thing. So my main thing, because I know we have to wrap up and get back on topic, is you have him at 8 or 9 right now, but you haven't seen like the depth that we usually connect character that usually helps us connect with character. You haven't seen the depth yet. You haven't seen the pain he goes through. You haven't
that's
seen like
it.
the big struggles that makes us connect and like a character. You haven't even seen that yet, and you already have him as an 8 or 9. So just imagine where you're gonna have him when you actually get to see him go through that journey and
All
struggle.
right, man. I'm gonna say just like you. All right, man. This shit better be heat when I see it. This shit better be heat. Because if it's trash, like if the 11th arc is trash, Lonnie, you're never gonna let me hear the end of it.
I'll
You
never
never
hear
are.
of it. But I
And
also expect when he starts reading it, Santo, he's just gonna come back one Tuesday, just tears down his eyes, just tears. We're like, you good? He's like,
I get it now. I get it.
all right then, but that was our discussion. Jesus, that turned really deep because Mushoku Tensei is never gonna get the respect it deserves, and it's the author's fault. But
Self-inflicted.
self-inflicted wounds. But thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next week for episode 20, Into the Labyrinth. Rudy finally made it to where approximately where his mama is, and the labyrinth arc is about to start in full earnest. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Make sure you subscribe to the BSS. Check out everything we got going on. What are we talking about next week, Lonnie? Do you know? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think we're talking about the JJK chapter and Inner Spirits.
That's right. That's right. That's was Riddell the one that said we'll talk about it on Tuesday, but make sure you pull up on Tuesday. We talking the title of the episode is JJK just had one of the biggest plot twists in anime history. And is that really a plot twist?
I don't think it's a plot twist,
I don't
but
think
it's
it's a
like a
plot
big
twist.
reveal.
It's a big reveal, but I don't think it's a plot twist. But we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Make sure you follow the BSS on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Check out Santos' channel. Check out Lonnie's channel because I know they're starting to make more content, and obviously I'll have more content for you guys coming soon. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Hold up. Let me end this recording.